What do we do?
We didn't plan a lot to start with.
We do packages, do authorisation,
Limited permission.
applications. It's all about finance. What can you do for me? And the best in the UK, nearly a third of all applications to the FCA.
It's not as difficult as people make it. How long is it going to take me to be compliant?
Which is a bizarre thing to say. Could you do an FCA limited permission application by yourself now?
No.
Which is scary. It's become so difficult.
This is Jon.
And this is Nick.
And this is How It Is.
So, we've spoken about how Compliance Guys started. How do you think we're doing? And how did we get the services? How did we kind of just land on what we actually do?
It's funny, isn't it? Because we didn't plan a lot to start with. We kind of, we didn't, but I feel like we kind of knew what the opportunities were.
Yeah, and it is strange because people, we both of us do a lot of self-development, and we both watch a lot of podcasts and see all these management kind of company things, you know what I mean? And they all go on about, you have to sit down, you have to do your business plan, you have to have clear direction. And I go back to, I think it was January 21 or 22, when we actually sat down and we did a strategy for the coming year. And within like 3-4 weeks, the FCA changed all the pricing.
No, I think it was 2 days.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was like 2 days later, yeah.
And then we had to literally rip that up straight away.
But if you remember, even then, I think we've had a self-limiting belief at times, because we've come from, let's call it humble beginnings. Where I remember even when we registered for VAT, really early doors, and I was like, Jesus, we're going to add VAT on. What about if people don't want to pay the price of VAT? And it was just nothing. Yeah. And then we had to put the price up because the FCA put the price up and the complexity. And I was like, we're not going to do, there's going to be hardly any business. And we did at least the same amount. And I don't think sometimes we even value, or haven't at times valued, what we do.
Absolutely. And, valuable. And what do we do? That's the $1 million question. When a partner sat with us the other day, and it goes back to, I think that our brand has overtaken our identity, which I think we mentioned in a previous podcast. And, when I've sat down and gone, when this partner came back and said, what do you do? What do you actually do?
We know you do compliance, but what do you actually do?
I know, which is scary. So, we do, the packages, subscriptions, have 600 plus at the moment. We do authorisation, and the best in the UK by a country mile, and doing nearly a third of all applications to the FCA.
Limited permission.
Limited permission applications. Yeah, if you're a car dealer. But we do other applications also. And then we got the tech side of it as well, with the Drive app and our compliance system.
I think even within that, though, it's kind of like, what does that even mean? Like packages, I think what we've done really well is almost commoditize ongoing compliance, because I think I've heard stories of compliance companies where it's like, can I ring you for a chat? And they're like, yeah, that's £200 an hour. Let me book you in for a thing. And I'm like, even if it's me or you, we're just like, just pick up the phone and have a chat with us. Then maybe that's a bad thing in some ways.
I was just going to ask that.
But it makes us approachable. And like, then if there's a service to be done, but sometimes, you know what? Maybe it's a shortcoming, but I feel proud sometimes that people can rely on us and see us as you'd call it a trusted advisor, not just a professional service that you pay for.
Yeah. Yeah, but sometimes that maybe is a self-limiting belief. Maybe we should
gatekeep ourselves a little more.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we've shot ourselves in the foot with that. Being too open, too transparent, and too approachable, maybe. I don't know. That caring, not scaring kind of thing that we do.
Yeah, sometimes the caring, not scaring is a little... It just takes away a little bit about the fact that people do need to be fearful at times. And it's not... I think there can also be a balance, though. You don't have to scare people, but you have to understand that things can be scary.
Well... I think it was Consumer Duty was the classic example of that. We've always gone, yes, it's caring, not scaring, be honest, be truthful. But to try and get that across to the independent motor dealer without scaring them was next to impossible, because they just didn't care. That's just the reality of it, really.
Yeah, and I think when people engage with us, we don't have to scare people because they're engaging, and sometimes it's the apathy needs a bit of scaring to get past the apathy, and then we can give them a little cuddle and go, right, let's help you. I think that maybe that's the difference. But yeah, going back to the packages, I think it's kind of like, what do? We just give people a choice of what they want and make it really simple, and it's like, sometimes people need to know a little more, that we don't just do packages, but like, what do they get? And
well, the open question I get asked is that they say, I need to be compliant. What can you do for me? And, well, do you really want to be compliant? Do you really want us to do it properly for you? And they go, well, depends on how much, which is a bizarre thing to say.
Well, what they actually mean is, what the answer should be, are you willing to be compliant?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because it's not just, I want to be compliant. There's a big difference between want to and willing to.
Absolutely. And the other thing, we got like our platinum package, which pretty much
it's designed to be top to bottom.
Absolutely. But the amount of people who have that package, but who will only use certain parts of it, which is scary.
Yeah, you always get that, well, what about if I have to dual key a little bit of information and we try and sync that up as much as we can? Or how long is it going to take me to be compliant? And we're like, well, it might be 5 minutes. When you go to main dealer world, it's kind of like they live on their compliance system. Because the scaring is almost coming from internally, not externally.
Yeah. So what do we do next? How do we overcome these barriers?
I think compliance landscape's changing. I think with the Court of Appeal ruling that everyone's been talking about, the FCA have now looked at Consumer Duty Board reports. I think everyone's taking it a little more seriously, and I think one thing that people have missed in all this is that the lenders are now saying, we're going to put our things in place to make sure we've looked after ourselves. Yeah. But dealers have to understand that if they now don't do their part, the lenders are probably in a position where they can go, there is some blame on you. And if there is a claim comes in, forget the FCA, it's always the claims management company.
Yeah,
it's kind of like the claims management companies be able to go, we put the onus on the dealer now, and there is come a time to protect themselves.
Excuse me. It's definitely going to be an interesting couple of years coming ahead now, and it's definitely going to be more compliant years ahead, which I think is a good thing from our point of view.
Do you know what? It's not as difficult as people make it out to be either.
I agree.
It really isn't. Like, it's scary, which is the bit we've tried to overcome. But ultimately, it's not difficult if you just put a process in place. But again, I think the thing we find a lot with our smaller used car dealers we deal with is disorganisation is one of the biggest problems, the lack of process. And me and you come from a main dealer background, and so I'm not saying main dealers do everything perfectly, but you do see the difference of people who've come from that or a different professional background, where structure and process make it a lot easier to do stuff like compliance.
Absolutely. Somebody rang me up the other day, a friend of mine, car dealer, independent, been doing it for a good 10 years. And he said, I'm going to get rid of my FCA license. I don't want to have it. I get hardly any finance. I went, so what are you doing? I'm looking at your website. You're not advertising finance. Do you when the customer comes into you, did you say, what's your budget, monthly budget? Well, no. If they ask for it, I'll give it. I'm going, well, you're not. It goes back to that Italian corner shop, and that. Do you want to say your Italian corner shop?
I've done this for ages. And the beautiful Italian furniture store has now closed down, and I think it's because they don't offer finance.
There you go.
Yeah, my analogy always used to be: there's a beautiful Italian furniture store that doesn't offer finance, but where do people go? They always go to DFS. Why? Not because the furniture's better. Why is it?
It's because they offer finance.
Yeah,
exactly.
So you end up probably paying more, but they offer finance. And our dream was always that every little retail place and car dealership could offer finance. But it's not actually about commission, because in retail, there's not really any commission. It's about selling your goods. And I think, again, a lot of car dealers miss that. It's DFS looks like a bigger business. Well, it's obviously a huge business, but it's kind of like, because they offer finance, it almost shows longevity. It shows power. And there's a lot more to offer in finance than just the commission.
Yeah, you know, and that's it. It's somebody tagged me in on, I don't know, one of the Facebook groups a couple of weeks ago. It was about another guy saying, I'm going to get rid of my FCA license. I've done about 20 deals this month this year on finance, and I've only had about £500 commission all the way through it. And the FCA fee is going to cost me 650 quid a year. And then somebody tagged me in, as I say, and I just said, well, so if you keep £1,000 in each of your cars, £1,000 retail profit,
Yeah.
could be a lot less. I don't know. Let's just say £1,000. That's £20,000 versus 650 quid. Why would you get rid of that? And the guy said, that's one way of looking at it.
I honestly think it's more. I honestly think it's more than that, though. Let's take someone's website. They don't offer finance. They now haven't got a finance tab.
Yep.
They've got no big disclosure at the bottom.
Yep.
Which you could argue whether people read it or not, but it looks impressive. It's almost like we've got some terms and conditions. There's nothing worse than seeing built by so-and-so at the bottom, and that's it.
Which we like those, by the way.
Yeah. Then you've got no finance tab, you've got no payments, nothing. Even cash customers surely must look at a website and go, that place seems like a better place to buy from.
Yeah.
So I sometimes also wonder, are you going to sell less cars for cash just by not offering finance?
I totally agree. You know, but if somebody goes to that website and they see, buy this car for £149 a month, you're going to buy it. You know, you much prefer that, because that in your mind is that budget. You're budgeted into that. You know, there's a big independent car supermarket local to here. They are full business plan. It's all about finance. It's all about finance. And buy this car for this amount of money. Get into my dealership and you can have this cheap car for this amount each month.
Yeah, that's not, I get that's not for everyone then.
It's not for everyone, but they've been pretty successful doing it.
But, depending on the value of your cars, you can't count on everyone to get external funding.
Yeah.
It again, just comes down to a process thing.
Yeah, it's all about process. People, process, profit.
We talk about what we do. One thing we actually miss out sometimes on is what we know. So where we've almost commoditized products, we've got a great process for authorizations. I think people almost miss that we're not just like getting someone to do an application. We've got a whole process that goes through for, you'd call it quality control, I guess, to make sure people are going to qualify up front.
It goes back, Nick. It goes back to, could you do an FCA limited permission application by yourself now?
No.
Same here. And that's how we started this company. Me and you used to be the experts. We were the compliance guys of doing it. And now it's become so difficult. There's 6 bespoke policies I think we give, and they have to be bespoke because the FCA use the same plagiarizing software as the exam boards do. Business plans, we have to write that because you name me an independent car dealer who's got a business plan.
And also it's a regulatory business plan, so it's different.
Yeah.
But I think like that process we go through is almost to make sure everything's been done from the dealer's side, from our side.
Yep.
Quality control, are they going to qualify, preparing them. But alongside doing all that, plus all the questions come back from the FCA, what we know is absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah.
Because we'll sometimes speak to lenders, and the lenders, they do go through some big FCA contact, forbearance, stuff like that. But we, at any moment, understand what the FCA are thinking. We get that developing thinking because the latest questions that come up and you're like, oh, we've not been asked that before. You know what's being talked about at the FCA. So it goes back to the IDDs. Where the FCA come to us and go, what's an IDD? It's an information notice. And we're like, oh, okay, you don't like that language.
Yeah.
But the whole industry's still talking about IDDs.
Absolutely.
How many people know that?
I know. Exactly.
So the amount of contact we have on behalf of multiple firms really makes a difference. And we definitely don't monetize that.
Yep.
You see compliance consultants doing a lot of high value work. And I think one thing we will get engaged more in 2025 is people who come to us and go, like, really have an outside view on compliance and what people are doing.
Absolutely. And the thing that always kind of freaks me out a bit is that, some of these applications take months to get through for one reason or another. We get them through, and then the person says then, I don't want an ongoing compliance subscription with you. I'm all right. I can do it by myself.
Even though you've promised the FCA.
Yeah. Even though you've promised the FCA in the application and in the interview,
I'm going to do all this perfectly.
Yeah, and then they go, oh no, I'll be fine to do it by myself. And go, well, you wouldn't have been able to do this application by yourself. So now you think you're able to do, be compliant going forward, and they're not. And then, guess what? When they do something wrong with financial promotions under Conc 3, and they have that amazing letter off the FCA, which says sometimes is that we could suspend your license. You need to go into Conc 3 and tell us exactly where you've gone wrong, what you're going to put in place to change that, and
are you going to give anybody back to customers effectively? If not, why?
Yeah, exactly. And then they come to us and go, oh, can you fix it? And it's like, well, it's retrospective. We can help you with this, but what you need is to be compliant beforehand.
But like,
it's crazy.
So why don't smaller motor dealers take compliance seriously?
That's a good question. Maybe they've had it too good for too long, been able to get away with it. The old regulator with the FSA. Did they come down on dealers hard enough? Wasn't it the committee? What do these call the government committees that the FCA went up against a couple of weeks ago? One of those. They said that the FCA weren't being hard enough.
Yeah, the motor media almost said, "Oh, the FCA aren't fit for purpose." You still like the car. Told you so. No, you didn't read the content. It actually said you're not looking after customers enough.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I get it's a cost.
Yeah.
And in our business, would you rather pay for insurance, let's say, or would you rather pay for something that makes money? It's obvious. I don't think lenders have always asked enough of dealers. It's kind of like, well, we'll just, if we try and set the bar too high,
because they want more business.
We're worried. Yeah, there's definitely that FOMO, let's say, from lenders, which I think has to change.
How can stocking by lenders even be allowed?
Yeah, where like effectively you've got reciprocal business.
Absolutely. I just like it's bonkers, but hey, we're not the decision makers, are we?
No.
So
have we just waffled there and moaned?
Probably.
Like waffling moan.
Probably. No, well, we're just giving it how it is, really, isn't it? There you go. What a plug for the name of the show. But yeah, I think things are definitely going to change over the next year or so. It is definitely going to be more compliant for motor dealers and for everyone, really. And
we'll make it as simple as possible. That's sometimes the frustration has come not from the fact that we want to make money out of this. We obviously do. But the reason we started the business was because we had a passion for helping car dealers and getting people to do a better job. And I think when they don't come along with it, it's kind of like, we're not just doing it to make money. We are doing it to try and clean up the image of the motor trade. And it's frustrating, I think, sometimes when you feel like you've got to drag people along.
Drag them along, yeah. And we do it in a caring, not scaring way as well.
I think to go about services, we really do need to hone down in the future on kind of what we do so people understand it more. Authorizations, ongoing packages, compliance tech, which links into sales tech as well, really, and then just our knowledge and advice.
There's a lot of things that we got coming for 2025. I know that the websites can be completely revamped, rechanged. I'm not going to say in what way, but it's going to be a lot different to other companies out there, compliance companies. I think as well, our core business is will always be the independent motor dealer, but I want us to branch out more into other avenues, mortgage brokers and insurance and things like that. CMCs, maybe. We do those applications at the moment. I don't think we do enough of them. Bigger packages as well for those other companies. So, let's see. And what we won't say too much about 2025, but there is a lot coming. Well, that was a good waffle, wasn't it?
It was a bit of a waffle.
I think we're both very, very tired. We've had our Christmas party. I might give away the time of year that this was recorded.
Yeah.
But it is Christmas jumper day, which I'm not wearing, by the way. Yeah, we're both tired. Christmas party time. I do like your boots, by the way.
Thank you. These are the boots I wore for our Christmas party, actually. I thought I was going to give them a second wear.
So just remember to like, subscribe, and
comments. That's the other one.
Comments. Or put in the comments a question that you'd like us to answer next week.
Or ask the next guest, because we're going to have guests on soon.
Oh, right. I would answer. We could answer as well. I kind of like the idea of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Both.
Both.
Question for our guests and a question for us. How is that? Put them in the comments. Where is that? There you go. Till next week.